going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. You got Corey, Nick, and Ben here with you, and that means that we are talking about the Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. Going to be big time spoilers for episode 5, which was entitled Blood Calls Blood. So if you haven't seen this episode, please click pause here, get out of here, go watch it on Amazon, come back and see us again. In this episode, Perrin and Egwene run into a familiar, not so nice face that has a real hard on for ultimatums. Matt and Rand see some otherwise strange faces, including one that just has a beautifully deep baritone voice. And Moraine and Lan, well, they mourn their loss, which ends up turning into losses plural. So hooray, heavy, deep things. Ben, how are you today, sir?
Doing really well. I've been looking forward to this since I watched the episode on Friday. A lot of good content, including the introduction of a beloved character. The hint: it's not the reintroduction of the White Cloaks. Yeah, been doing really well, and excited to see where this is going. There's a lot of good stuff.
Good stuff. Nick, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just kind of rethinking about what this episode entailed, and obviously curious to see what comparisons and differences and the accuracies to this part in the book are from Ben. So
for sure. And you put more clothes on today than you had on last night. So
I did. Yeah.
That was a choice.
work kind of pulled that out of me, so.
Okay. Yeah. You're post work and not post workout today. I
exactly.
Like it. It's good. All right. Before we get started, please like this video to help get it out in front of more people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're working towards 1,000 subscribers. There will be spoilers again, so this is your final warning. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, just go watch it. Ben, you told me that you have, I believe the term was copious notes for this episode.
Copious notes.
So
lots of notes.
Whichever one of the 3 plot lines you want to start with, the ball is yours, sir.
I think we'll start with Moraine, Lan, and Nynaeve.
All right.
Right before we get to our time jump, we do have a brief funeral ceremony, which I thought was really interesting. First and foremost, you get a phrase pulled directly from the books. You'll notice Moraine said about the fallen Aes Sedai, may the last embrace of the mother welcome you home. And that's a expression that comes from a place in the Wheel of Time world known as the Borderlands. Specifically, this is going to be Kandor, but in the Borderlands, that is the expression given to somebody who passes. And during my rewatch today, I wrote down a little note. I'm curious to hear what you both have to think about this. How do we feel about the Aes Sedai burying the dead of their opponents?
I mean, respectful? I guess, with a little bit of insult to injury thrown in there.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of like maybe respected the most, but understanding that it is some sort of energy, and it's still like a lives lost. So it's sort of like return to the earth type of belief or mindset. I mean, at least they didn't burn them on like a funeral pyre or something like that. So I think burying them was probably a little bit, a little bit more of a respectful way to go about it. But I was kind of intrigued to see that they actually did that. I'm like, oh, that was one of Loghain's guys. And then you start seeing more, and I'm like, oh, they're burying both sides. So it's sort of like we're still one, even though there's like a divide. So that was kind of interesting.
And they did it in a very artful fashion.
Yeah,
it was a nice little circle type thing. Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Well, the Wheel of Time is very much about circles. I mean, it is called the Wheel of Time, and that wheel is a common theme. The idea of rebirth. So it's everything has a cyclical nature, which I think is a little bit of just a little stylistic choice. Well done to the director.
I like it. So you mentioned we had that, and there's a time jump. So
Big time jump. 1 month later.
Let's go there because
Yeah.
you were really excited to see. I'm going to mispronounce the name, just say it for me.
Tar-Valon?
Tar-Valon. That's right.
Tar-Valon.
So this was a big one for you getting there.
This is one of the really big ones. Tar-Valon is the home of the White Tower, which if you miss it, you're not looking in the right direction. And the White Tower is the home of the Aes Sedai. So we're coming to sort of the seat of the Aes Sedai when the Aes Sedai are not out in the world. I know we heard a lot about how Moiraine was away for 2 years, and how that may be held against her for not being involved in the what they refer to as tower politics.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
I thought that
Sorry.
part was interesting because you think, okay, there's like the Aes Sedai, they're their own group. There's the White Cloaks, they're their own group. There's followers of whoever else. You think they're all kind of working together, but at the same time, there's some serious tension, and there's some enemies within a group that's there to kind of protect life to a degree, which is the Aes Sedai. So I thought that was cool the way that they kind of introduced that, and they said, "Hey, Moiraine, you've got 2 serious enemies in this tower right now. What are you going to do about it?"
Yeah.
Another thing, it does kind of, you see it from Rand and Matt's perspective, but one thing I put in my notes was just that shot of Tar-Valon in the mountain was just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I'm like, again, I'm thinking it looks this good with the Wheel of Time, and I'm like, what the hell is Lord of the Rings going to look like?
Yeah.
And again, like you get the greater sense of the scale. We talked about it before about seeing Shadar Logoth of being, an empty city. Well, now we get to see a full city.
Yeah.
So we get to see the opposite side of that spectrum there, and just see how lively it is, and just how at sundown it's kind of quiet. As soon as it's sort of sunrise, everyone's out and just about their business. And of course, we see that you kind of get hear it and see it from Lan as he's kind of waking up from that sleepy days.
Yeah, he had the CBD
unfortunate-
infused tea.
he certainly did. He had a little something in that tea, or some herbs,
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah, it's the good stuff.
But
Yeah.
it to see more about it finally, because I was wondering when we would actually see the White Tower.
Mhm.
If it was going to be towards the end, but 5th episode, hey, comes early. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
For us to kind of see more of the book and the story. So
Yeah. So Ben, one of my curiosities here is is particularly with the stuff with Moiraine and Lan and Steppen. How much of this is similar to the book, and how much of it is kind of changed for the show?
A lot of it's changed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. For example, if I recall properly, Logain is gentled after a trial in the tower. So
Really?
that's a big diversion from the books. We also don't find out Moiraine is not involved in his capture or in any battles with his what I think they refer to him as Dragonsworn.
interesting.
So that's all happening off camera, so to speak. They do mention that in the battles with Logain's followers that there are Aes Sedai who die, and they use this death here to sort of give shorthand to what it means to be a warder. It is very often described in the books that a warder who loses their Aes Sedai often goes mad with almost a bloodlust to avenge them, because that bond is broken. It's not, it doesn't end in a good manner. They feel that pain and that emptiness. So I think, unfortunately for Steppen, he was a bit of a sacrificial lamb in that regard to just show us not only how intimate the bond is between warder and Aes Sedai, but also what happens when that bond is broken. You heard Lan say a warder is not supposed to outlive their Aes Sedai. The backlash in the books is never described as being an Aes Sedai can make it through the loss of a warder. It may hurt. They may feel that pain, but they are, maybe it's part of the one power, but they're shielded from a little bit of the loss of a warder, whereas warders do not last very long without an Aes Sedai. So I think Steppen was our way to find that out.
Interesting. And it seemed like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it felt like maybe politically or hierarchy speaking, they were going to set him up with one of the greens. And
with
that just didn't really seem to sit right with him. I had thought, this kind of threw me for a loop, because in my head, I thought, okay, well, the natural story progression is going to be they're going to set him up with Nynaeve, and
same.
Boom, done. That's like an easy wash our hands of this situation thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, LOL, nope, he's dead. So it did a good job, though, of showing, Nynaeve tells him the pain isn't going to go away. And she says that to him in like a reassuring type way.
Right.
But I guess he just decides that he's essentially failed at the one job that he had in life, and that he'd be better off taking his life, which I thought was a very, very heavy thing to have happen in the episode. And then I don't have the actor's name in front of me, so I apologize. But the guy that plays Lan at the end, when he's just
phenomenal,
guttural screaming at the top of his lungs during that funeral, and just, they're Wolf of Wall Street and the shit out of their chest,
hitting their chest hard, like
man. And that scene was interesting too, because it starts out all the warders are doing it, and then as it keeps going, the Aes Sedai start doing it, and like Nynaeve, everybody in the room just like catches on. It was a very powerful way to end the episode, and I'm curious after that, how much time, especially Moraine and Lan, are going to spend at the White Tower. Are they just going to be like, let's just get the hell out of here because this place sucks?
I thought that was pretty, just the whole development for this, right? Like, I think I said last episode, I wonder if they're setting up, Steppen and Nynaeve, of course, unbeknown to the books, what happens, right, for us new viewers here. But it definitely, they kind of led us in that direction from the show. Like, he goes to get tea, and I was like, oh, well, maybe something, right? Because then it almost, you see that she's might go with the green cloaks. And maybe next episode we see that, or the talks of it happening in this episode. But when it's the moment as soon as Lan wakes up and he notices one of the daggers is gone, and he went now the way the samurai sort of do, and but yeah, just what a powerful scene. I wonder, just from a like a filming take, I wonder if they just nailed that in the one time or what, because I mean,
how many times that poor guy have to do that?
Right, exactly. But like, even for the sake of when the camera focuses on Rosamund Pike and Nynaeve, because they both start to get very emotional. I wonder if they got that in that first time. If they did, then kudos. Because again, just to continuously film it, like, would it take away from the overall emotion? Maybe not, unless they're good enough to kind of replicate and keep it again up to that sort of like the powerfulness that it's supposed to evoke to us, and to them, of course, as well. But what a way to end the episode. I was like,
bleak.
Oh well, wow.
See you in 7 days, folks.
Yeah.
Is
it next Friday yet? No.
Right?
Damn.
We have Hawkeye to tide us over tomorrow.
Yeah,
that is true. Cool. Uncle, say uncle, everybody. Say uncle. So one last thing I want to say, and then if you guys have anything before we move on, the set design and the costuming and everything for all of this stuff inside the White Tower was A+ for me. Especially when they switched everybody over to their funeral attire and whatnot.
Robes,
that helped sell the scene just as much as the acting and music and all that other stuff. So Ben, anything else you've got on that, or shall we move on to Wolf torture time?
I will. I'll hit some quick points, and then we can move on to your wolf torture. First and foremost, we learn a little bit more about what it means to be an Aes Sedai or become one. Leandrin is talking about Nynaeve being made a novice.
Mm-hmm.
Novice is not an Aes Sedai. It's a title. It's you don't get. It's much like the military. You got to start at the bottom of your rank and work your way up. So there's a bit of a journey there for any who wish to become an Aes Sedai. We also I really enjoyed the moment where Moiraine said to Nynaeve, when I find your friends, I will bring you to them, because Nynaeve's distrust of Aes Sedai is obviously is been made very clear and is even mentioned by Leandrin as well. But Aes Sedai cannot lie. So if Moiraine is willing to make a statement that has so little wiggle room in it, that means she's really trying to look out for Nynaeve, and I think Nynaeve didn't particularly see that. Also, and with our discussions between Lan and Steppen, we learn about some folks called the Forsaken. So, stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, that's a tease.
I actually had that in my notes, like Forsaken ? For Ben. And there's one other thing I had because, and I'll just quickly add as well that, where Ilana says to Moiraine that she's the only one that's strong enough to stand against Leandrin, and I'm like, yeah, what is her agenda? Because she's sus, even though they're kind of like on the same team, but there's the moment where Moiraine opens like this sort of like picture on the wall. Is there any significance behind that in the books, or is there more to it that we're just gonna have to wait and find out? Or
so the differences between the Ajas are very much part of the books. It is a lot of tower politics, and it is well known that the Reds and the Blues do not see eye to eye.
Eye to eye Sedai.
Yeah. There's some bad blood there, but
I'm gonna mute myself.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting, like you say, Nick, that they have the same goal. They just have very different ideas about how to achieve that goal.
Right.
And we're starting to see Leandrin is making sure that she's going with her agenda. Moiraine has her own agenda, and people like Nynaeve are going to be caught in the middle as powerful channelers, or potential to be to be a powerful channeler.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having the number one draft pick. Who's going to get to pick them? And teams, the Aja will fight over individuals if they think that it will suit their purpose. And as far as the wall chest goes, your guess is as good as mine. I'm dying to know what's in that wall chest.
Okay. Interesting.
Ben, the Forsaken, is that something that, if you had to guess, we will find out what that means by the end of season 1, or is that kind of a question mark?
I would. I'd bet dollars against dimes that we're going to find out and meet the Forsaken before the end of this season.
Nice.
Good stuff. Nice. Leandrin has a very punchable face, just for the record. Not that I would hit anyone, man or woman, but there's just something really unlikable about the way that she looks, the way they've got her set up.
You've got major balls if you want to punch an Aes Sedai.
I mean, I don't. I'm ballless in this situation. But
there is someone who would in this show, though.
Who would that be, Sir Nicholas?
His name rhymes with mild Malda.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's a great segue. Because we're going to go right over to the White Cloaks. So Perrin and Egwene are with the Tinkers, and the Tinkers run into the White Cloaks, and the White Cloaks recognize Perrin and Egwene from the last time they saw them with a different group. And the Valda fella is very smart, and he's attuned to people that he thinks might be his enemies. And we get some torture, we get some violence, we get an ultimatum, and we get wolves attacking on Perrin's behalf. So Ben, please tell me this is all lifted right from the books.
Very much so.
Okay, great.
Nice.
Slightly placed. It's shuffled around a little bit, but this is all straight lifted from the books.
That's cool.
Wolves and questioners. Well, Child of the Light, White Cloaks, Egwene and Perrin's capture. The torture is more described as beatings than surgery, but
Carvings, yeah. Jeez.
But this is lifted straight from the books. It also was really interesting because the books do spend a fair bit of time talking about the Tinkers and the way of life and saying, and people questioning them. What do you mean if somebody does violence to you, you're just going to stand there and take it? And that's exactly what they did.
That is what they did.
A really powerful scene that really just makes you want to hate the White Cloaks even more. If you're going to punch somebody who's not going to hit back, knowing they're not going to hit back, you've got to be a real sleazebag.
Yeah. Can't just be like walk around them or something. You can actually like punch through them. That is the thing. But don't call them sir. Learn that right away. She says that multiple times, and he's just like, no,
Child.
Don't call me sir.
Child.
It's interesting that you mentioned that it's not like literally taking a knife and cutting into Perrin's back, and it's more of like hitting him, because I felt like every time he went through, it got worse, and then that's what triggered the orange in the eyes, which was cool because that eventually led to the wolves showing up. I also thought it was very clever how Egwene tricks him by throwing like the little teeny tire fireball, and he's just like, child, come on, you're gonna have to do better than that. But it's a distraction to do what she really wanted to do, which was really neat.
But that part was pretty interesting too, because I was wondering if she was going to actually be able to channel something, or if she was just going to, like, I don't know, something else was going to happen. Like, I almost suspected the wolves to come, which obviously they did, but or I thought that maybe Egwene was going to do something with the wind, not so much like actually channel a little tiny fireball, like a level 1 spell.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, right. But I mean, when the wolves came, that part was pretty dope. You just see like the yellow in his eyes just changed. And I was like, "Oh, buddy!" Like, you could hear the howling too. And I'm like, "Yeah, when's that wolf pack gonna come?" And sure enough, those wolves were pretty damn vicious. He's like, "Don't worry, he's not gonna harm us." And it's like, "Arr, arr, arr," like barking, and then just like went away. Like, let's run.
So Ben, my question for you regarding that is that considered channeling, or is that just like a deep spiritual connection that Perrin has with the wolves? Or is that like
Egwene certainly. Egwene, sorry. Aha, there goes my book. My book words again.
I got one
Yell
right.
at me in the comments. Yell at me in the comments, folk.
It's not me this time.
Egwene definitely channeled. And what Perrin and his golden eyes are something a little different.
Okay.
Sort of a wait and see, but
leave it there.
You can, if you rewatch those scenes, listen carefully, because the wolves enter a lot sooner than you expect.
Really?
They're there almost from the beginning when the Children of the Light bring Perrin into the tent with Egwene. You can actually hear them in the background throughout scenes, starting there and going onward.
So they've basically been following them since last episode.
They have ways of keeping their eye on people they have interests in.
So I kind of put down here like a question mark, saying that I think at this point, Perrin isn't the Dragon Reborn. At least if I had to start making some deductions here, it doesn't seem like it's him.
Look at that poker face. Look at Ben right now. He's just like, I won't say anything. I'm not giving it up.
But because I mean, again, like at this point, we've seen Nynaeve channel. We've seen Egwene channel. Matt is going mad.
Yeah.
Which is a sign of channeling.
We haven't seen anything from Rand yet. So I don't know if he's just a late bloomer, or if that's sort of one of those things where, like, yeah, it's kind of him because he's the one that hasn't channeled yet, or what. Like
He's too busy looking like
be
episode
mad.
2 Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Dude, he had a hood on.
I mean, Rand.
This episode or last episode, he had a hood on that was like brown, and I was just like, "Holy shit, it's Anakin from episode 2." It's so weird.
Now, this episode, he was doing his Robin Hood thing. This episode with the green cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was wearing green. So, so let's, for the sake of time, the Wheel of Time, let's go over to Matt and Rand. So, Ben, you were extremely excited about the introduction of Loyal, and you said that they absolutely nailed him and his characterization from the books. So
yeah, they nailed every mannerism, every feeling that you get from him, with the one major exception of his appearance. And I know the Wheel of Time fans are not a huge fan, are not super sure how they feel about Loyal's appearance yet. So we've got we have Ogier. They are not people. They are not ogres.
Ogiers,
it's like the Grey Poupon of ogres, though. You know?
I think it reminds me a little bit of Harry Potter when we finally figured out how to say Hermione's name, because they decided to throw us a bone and have Victor Crumb mispronounce it 7 Ways to Sunday. Because in the books, an Ogier is an Ogier, which very much could have been we've just messed around with ogre. So I really appreciate them hanging a lantern on that. Ogier, I can actually read I pulled the exact paragraph when Rand meets Loyal for the first time. It's not in Tar Valon. It's actually before that. He meets, but they do meet in an inn, and they do meet in the library at the inn. And it says, then Rand came to the head, almost reaching the 10-foot ceiling. A nose as broad as the face, so wide it was more a snout than a nose. Eyebrows that hung down like tails, framing pale eyes as big as teacups. Ears that poked up to tufted points through a shaggy black mane. Rand sat there for a minute with his mouth hanging open, staring up at the apparition in wide-toed, knee-high boots and a dark blue coat that buttoned from neck to the waist, then flared out to his boot tops like a kilt over baggy trousers. In one hand was a book, seemingly tiny by comparison, with a finger broad enough for 3 marking the place. So that's our introduction to Loyal. But as far as the voice of Loyal, my hats are off to casting there, because he's often described as sounding like a bumblebee the size of a horse. And that's pretty darn close to what we got.
Yeah, that's cool. He kind of reminded me a little bit of a Hagrid from Harry Potter to a degree, because like he's the big, seemingly lovable dude that has more access than you think he has.
Well, yeah, he's apparently got a key card to the White Tower.
Yeah, which that came kind of out of nowhere based off of the way they introduced him. But what about that? Like, you reading that paragraph kind of sounds exactly like what I saw on the screen. So what does the book reading community have against that?
They think that he's a bit shorter. He's not much higher than Rand. Rand is tall for a human. Rand's usually, I think, around 6-ish foot tall, maybe 6'2". So the fact that Loyal was not half again as tall as a man, as he's often described, that's a big one. The long eyebrows, the ones that hang down like tails, and the large eyes, I think, are the big sticking points that I've seen in doing a bit of research. But sitting down and thinking about it, it's a choice for the show, because they could very easily do a CGI Ogier, but then you've got all your actors talking to tennis balls for 10 seasons or whatever.
This isn't Marvel. Come on now.
And this is not Marvel. Yeah. And so I think it was just more. I think it was so much better and so much more. You can get so much more out of the performance by doing something that's not CGI.
Right.
And Hamed did a fantastic job. I can't say that enough.
You lose that uncanny valley in the eyes, because you get like a actual performance from a person that's underneath all of those prosthetics, which that's the part that I thought was really cool. It kind of reminded me of when Star Wars first came back, when Force Awakens came out, and they were just like, everything's practical. which of course not everything is practical, but as much as they can. And I don't know if this was a choice that was like budget driven because it might be more expensive to CGI an entire character, but I thought the practical makeup was neat personally.
I thought it was great. Your Name Sings in My Ear is a book lift. That is how Ogier introduced themselves. And Ogier are quite worldly, as you can see when Loyal starts referring to Rand as an Isleman. An Isleman with a sword, and an Isleman from the Two Rivers, being a little interesting there.
Yeah,
right.
the
That
red hair
conversation
thing.
Yeah, that whole conversation was very, again, intriguing. Like, why do you have this, but you have this? How can you be both? And sort of, and I'm like, so is he the Dragon Reborn or what?
Yeah, the show's done a good job though of like kind of hinting that every character is a little bit more than what the show is currently presenting, which is cool, and it's like a fun little mystery. And I think we all know as an audience we might not find out right away who that character is, but we're invested enough at this point, 5 episodes in, to be okay with waiting it out, just because what we're seeing in the present is all very cool. So Ben, what is happening to Matt?
Matt is not himself.
He's not well.
You've heard of Mad
There's
Max.
something-
We're hearing of Mad Matt.
He there's something wrong with his mind right now, and it's affecting him. It's affecting his nature. We see it very early on when a child bumps into him, and he goes to berate a small child. When everything we've ever seen with Matt before has shown that he has a real soft spot for young children because they remind him of his sisters.
Right. Exactly.
So something has definitely got a hold of his brain and is making Matt not Matt.
Yeah. He's just sleeping a lot, and I think because they Loyal brings Nynaeve to go see them.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And she's just like,
she tries to like care for him, and he's like, "Don't touch me."
Boy, you need to rest.
Oh, it's like the Gollum. It's like when Bilbo like freaks out in Rivendell with Frodo, right? And he tries to take the ring back. But he ain't looking too good either. That's why I put in my notes. So Matt ain't looking too good.
Yeah, no, Matt's not looking good at all. He's awfully pale.
Does he still have the dagger at this current moment?
Or he should.
Did that get lost? Okay, I'm wondering
if we go by the rule of you don't see it, it hasn't happened. No body, no death. We haven't seen him get rid of the dagger.
Yeah, he hasn't notated that he'd lost it or dropped it either. So
yeah,
I imagine it's still on him somewhere. But
so it's kind of like the ring makes someone go mad in Lord of the Rings, maybe with the dagger. Also, Nick, did you find it hilarious when Steppen dropped the ring into the little tiny cauldron?
Oh my god! Yes. I have that in here.
I was like, it's the tiniest little Mordor ever. This is great.
So I put in here, I said that Steppen did what Isildur could not. He casted it into the fire.
I mean, it was like a 4-inch wide fire, but still, they did it.
It was like the ring was like the fire ring was probably about this big, but he still was able to go and watch it dissolve.
It's done.
And then in the distance we see Mount Doom crumble and the Tower of Sauron crumble, and but like I thought that was hilarious. And the funny thing is, Steppen also has like this Age of Men look.
He does
from Lord of the Rings. Like I feel like he kind of does have like this, Boromir, Faramir, Isildur, Aragorn type of look with like the parted hair, like the swoopy hair, but like kind of like flowy and black and like white. And it would be also kind of hilarious if we actually ended up seeing that actor like in Lord of the Rings show on Amazon. Like
it would be funny.
You know what I'm saying? Well, he's dead in the show, so they can cast him in Lord of the Rings now.
He's free to go where he
pleases. But that part cracked me up too. Again, we see like these similarities that are great.
And not related to what we were talking about at all, but it popped up in my head and I thought it was hilarious.
No, I thought the same thing.
So Ben, to start to wrap things up here, you had told me that this episode started to really plant a lot of seeds, even more so than the first 4. So without spoiling anything, where is your hype now for the last 3 episodes of the season?
We're getting close to that to Spinal Tap. We're almost at an 11.
Okay. Is some big stuff going to drop on us before the end of this first season?
I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
especially having sort of crept ahead. Looked up some titles of some episodes. There's some real stuff that's going to end up happening. We're gonna find out some big bombs. We're also going to find out that some of the things we really want to know about, we may not find out about by the end of this season.
Okay,
so there will hopefully be some mystery as well.
I'm fine with that. If we get some big reveals and then some teases that keep us interested in waiting for another year until the next season comes out, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah. Would you like to read to us the synopsis for the next episode as a little tease?
Definitely. The next episode coming out 3 days from the release, 2 days after the release of this video, is titled "The Flame of Tar Valon," and we are going to see Moraine facing the consequences of her actions, Matt facing the darkness in himself, and Egwene facing the most powerful woman in the world.
Oh boy, that sounds great. I'm in.
So Egwene,
a little bit of hype.
But the question is, who is the most powerful woman in the world? Is she...
I think I think we can safely say that's the Emerald Seat.
Okay.
We've heard references to coming back from Camlin.
So is that like the Yoda of the Aes Sedai, essentially?
It's more the head of the Jedi Council.
Okay.
The Aes Sedai are a little bit more Jedi-like in that they have a council with representatives and a leader within there.
Gotcha. So it's like the top of the mountain as far as their group goes. That's cool.
Yep.
I love it. Ben, score this episode out of 10 for me if you can.
Let's go 8.5. I'm starting to really like what I'm seeing. A lot of breadcrumbs are being left behind for rewatches. I'm seeing a lot of the books come out, and we get loyal. So awesome. That's automatically bumps it up a half point.
Nick, how about you, sir?
Yep, that's what I had. 8.5. So, we're into the second half of the season now. So, I mean, I at the rate we've been going since the beginning, I think it's just going to continue to ramp up. So,
yeah,
can't wait.
It's kind of incredible how with some of the other shows that we're watching right now for the show, like Invasion on Apple TV, we got to episode 5 and it was just like, okay, where are we going with this? With a show like this, we're at episode 5 and it's like, oh no, there's only 3 left. Yeah. For the rest of the season. What am I going to do when this is done? I love that. Solid 8.5 for me too. I'll be uniform with you guys on that. I'm very, very curious to see what they do with the last 3 hours they've got here and how they tease us for the already greenlit season 2. So that is going to wrap things up for this video. Guys, if you are watching The Wheel of Time, hopefully you are, because we just spoiled a whole bunch of it. Please drop us a comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are on the show. If you're reading the books as well, or if you've read them in the past, would love to hear your thoughts on Loial. Was he what you pictured he would be, or was he something different? We'll make sure to respond to every comment that comes through. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already to help us get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter and Instagram at Real Heroes Show. We've had some great content already this week. We had a Dexter review. We talked about Shrink Next Door. We did a Harder They Fall review. We're going to be talking about Hawkeye this week as well. So plenty of great stuff coming down the pipeline and a whole bunch more as we get towards the end of December. So please stay tuned for all of that. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Cheers.
If you don't like this video, I assume you're a White Cloak.
You heard it first here.
That's right. No White Cloaks here. Bad. Goodbye.
Bye.